So first things first, let's talk about Standing Voice and its role. Standing Voice is a human rights non-governmental organization promoting the rights and well-being of persons with albinism in Tanzania and in Malawi. Standing Voice also holds the UN observer status and is an active member of task forces overseeing the National Action Plan on Albinism in both Tanzania and in Malawi, including as chair in Tanzania. Standing Voice areas of work are very holistic, and we have 4 main programs at our organization, which include the Skin Cancer Prevention Program, the Low Vision and Education Program, Psychosocial Wellbeing and Security, and Livelihoods. So I just want to take you briefly on the statistics of human rights violations between the 2 countries, Tanzania and Malawi. There's been 831 reported human rights violations against persons with albinism in 30 African countries. However, in Tanzania and in Malawi are the most affected countries, accounting for 50% of all reports across Africa. These figures represent all documented cases, although the earliest case dates back to 1970. 98% of reports have occurred since 2006. The most recent cases were on 17th June 2024, where there was an abduction and a murder of a 2-year-old girl with albinism in Kagera region, Tanzania. And the most recent case in Malawi was a grave violation of the burial site of a child with albinism in Ilongwe district just last month. Machinga is the most affected area in Malawi, which has the most reported cases of human rights violations. Unfortunately, prosecutions has been very slow, with 53% of cases still ongoing, of which 38% are under investigation, 16% in court, and 9% have been rejected. Just 80, which represents 37% of cases, have led to convictions till date. The severity of these cases showcases why there is an urgent need to tackle these issues. So as Standing Voice, we have launched a first response and a counseling team to tackle these cases urgently. The first response team is launched in both countries, Tanzania and Malawi, which are responsible for delivering all the pillars of the welfare program, which I mentioned earlier. We have ongoing training of the first response team. Members of the team were trained, like fully trained by a British psychotherapist named Dr. McFish, in a supportive listening-centered counseling approach. And we also have regular counseling sessions with Dr. Fish that provide us with how to deal with, being exposed to cases which are very traumatic, very vulnerable. People can also give the counselors vicarious trauma. So we have this session so that we can also, as counselors, we can also manage our trauma and also be able to manage effectively the trauma of the persons with albinism and those affected by attacks, sexual-based violence, and other forms of abuse and discrimination. These are the pillars of the Standing Voices Social Protection and Welfare Program. First of all, we have toll-free helplines, well-being assessments and clinic-based counseling, tailored support, material assistance, and counseling for survivors of abuse, human rights training, peer support, Women's Albinism Action Group, community livelihoods, and art therapy at the Umoja Training Center. So what does the toll-free helpline do? The toll-free helpline it was established as the first point of contact for persons with albinism facing abuse, trauma, or seeking any form of advice. The helplines are widely promoted through our skin cancer prevention program, and they work for 24 hours. Because most of the times, these cases of attacks usually happen at night, where these attackers know that it's hard for a person to seek for help. So we promote the toll-free helpline service to act for 24 hours. Just in case an attack case happens at night, they can be able to call us immediately, and we can respond to that case immediately. We immediately have to call the police so that they can rush to the area of where the person has been attacked. These are just the statistics of the types of calls we receive. The types of agent calls are categorized as cases of attacks, grave violations, and other security threats, sexual and gender-based violence, discrimination and verbal abuse, disputes relating to abandonment and rejection, advanced tumors and counseling of palliative cases. These are skin cancer-related cases. Relocation to safe housing, food security, access to education, other agent health conditions. So as you can see in Tanzania, last year in Tanzania, we had 9,109 calls made to our helpline. This helpline is not only accessible for persons with albinism only. It's also accessible to parents, community members, whoever can access it and needs help of their relatives, them as a person of albinism themselves, or anyone who needs support is free to call the helpline. Out of 20 serious security threats reported to our helpline in 2020 and in 2024 and 25, 8 were attempted attacks against children, including these examples. Like I mentioned earlier, the earliest case we've had was last month, where a representative from the Association of Persons with Albinism called that a 9-year-old boy in Lilongwe who had passed on just in January this year, his grave had been violated. So you can imagine the severity of this case. Imagine your child who just passed on like a few months ago, and you're still in the process of healing as a parent, as a friend, as a guardian. You're getting to hear that the grave is being violated just a few months later. That must be very gut-wrenching and devastating for the parents. I guess that's why Ms. Doreen here said it's important to also include these mental health services, to extend it to relatives, friends, and other members of the community who supports these people instead of just focusing to persons with albinism only. The other case we've had has been also has been happening constantly in 2024 and 2025, where a single mother with 3 children with albinism has reported a series of attacks, 2 at night and others during daylight. See, it's so severe that the mother can't even go out. She's a single mother, she's worried, she can't go to look for food, she can't go out to be with friends or socialize, because she has to constantly stay at home to look for her children. So that's how severe these cases can get. But the first response team of Standing Voice in such circumstances, like I said earlier, immediately alerts the police and then mobilizes the Association of Persons with Albinism to chip in and also raise awareness, get more information from the relatives and from the survivors of what really happened, first-hand information from them. And also Standing Voice can also offer investigation assistance in cases where the police is taking so long to investigate cases. We actually go to the police to find out why are they taking so long and how we can proceed to bring justice to persons with albinism. We also visit the homes and assess the vulnerability of persons affected by attacks or sexual and gender-based violence and all sorts of abuse and discrimination. If we find that there is a need, then we support. We can implement home security, rehousing, and strengthening community support and networks, depending on the need. This kind of support is tailor-made, so we support according to the need. If we know that maybe this person can come and say during the clinic-based counseling, they can come and say, we need, let's say, I need a bicycle to travel to the clinics, but when we go to their house, we find out that the thing they need the most is maybe strengthen their doors or windows for security purposes. Then we prioritize that before buying them a bicycle to travel to the clinics. We have these clinic-based counseling and well-being assessment tools, where 24 clinic sites in Tanzania and 44 clinics in Malawi access these services. In Malawi, the 44 counseling sites are located across 8 high-risk districts. Why are these called high-risk districts? It's because they are the districts where we've had the most human rights violation cases or cases of attacks. So that is why we prioritize those 8 high-risk districts. 54% of all reported attacks against persons with albinism in the country are found in those 8 high districts. Visiting a counselor at the clinic counseling is voluntary. However, when we see that there is a need for someone, maybe someone is showing physical signs of trauma, physical injuries, poor skin, or other signs of distress, they can be approached to come and visit a counselor. But it's not by force, like I said, it's voluntary. We assess different situations at the clinic-based counseling, were directed by the assessment forms I was talking about earlier. Of the 373 persons with albinism who visited counseling stations at clinics in Malawi, 78% were deemed to be in extreme poverty. This is just a description of our assessment tool, which we're developing in ComCare, our assessment tool that we use during the clinics. So when one has come to the clinic for a skin cancer prevention program and they also want to access the counseling services, this is the tool which helps us to collect their data. So these are the 6 areas where we look to assess someone who is at high risk. There is socioeconomic status, education, physical and mental health, emotional well-being, social inclusion, including with family settings, because we know that persons with albinism might be facing social exclusion even from their own family. Safety and security exposure to violence, sexual and gender-based violence. So when we get these things, we score these 6 categories. And 0 is the lowest score, and 3 is the highest score. So the higher the score, the higher the vulnerability. Which cases do we prioritize? We prioritize cases of attacks, sexual and gender-based violence, and security threats. These are just the statistics of the clinic-based counseling and tailored support done in Malawi and in Tanzania. So districts where people have access to counseling at clinics in Tanzania, 4, in Malawi, 8. Number of persons with albinism with access to clinic-based counseling in Tanzania, 1,924, in Malawi, 1,483. Number of counseling stations established in Tanzania, 24, in Malawi, 44. Number of counseling clinics delivered in Tanzania, 65, in Malawi, 52. Number of people receiving clinic-based counseling in Tanzania, 449, in Malawi, 358. And people receiving ongoing tailored assistance in Tanzania, 150, in Malawi, 101. Of the 449 clients who have received support via clinic-based counseling in Tanzania, 389, representing 86.6%, were female, and 36% were mothers. Of the 358 clients who have received support via clinic counseling in Malawi, 51.1% were female, which answers some of the questions where people asked, why is it that only females are the ones who are suffering from mental health issues? No, that's not the case, because as you can see the percentage in Malawi, you can see that males also were visiting the clinic-based counseling, because the percentage of the males is also 50-something%. When we see that there is a need for a person to receive tailored support and direct assistance, the first response team delivers tailored support packages for individuals needing assistance, especially for emergency interventions. Like I said, we prioritize cases of attacks, sexual and gender-based violence, and security threats. Initial funding for this assistance is from the United Nations, but we have supported work with survivors of attacks. This has expanded through FPF, round of applause, and the European Union. So, like I said, in Machinga, it is one of the highest cases, districts where we have the most cases of human rights reported attacks. So 1 of 6 persons with albinism in Machinga have been a victim of attack. Of the survivors of attacks supported, 62% were supported, and they were under the age of 15 years, and 50% were under the age of 10, which shows that most of the cases in Malawi affects children with albinism. This is just an example of one of the complex cases of protection, sexual and gender-based violence, and legal support. This was the case of a 14-year-old girl in Machinga who survived an attempted abduction by her own biological father. Can you imagine how traumatic that can be? You can't even trust your own father to protect you. It's very heartbreaking. And the mother's partner was very abusive to her, which means the 14-year-old girl was constantly being exposed to emotional abuse and sexual abuse. What did Standing Voice do? Standing Voice referred the mother to sexual and gender-based violence support services, supported legal proceedings against abusive partner, is offering ongoing counseling and school support provided to the girl, and also regular follow-up to monitor protection and well-being of the girl. This is another example of a complex case, which was about recurring security threats and poverty. This was a 36-year-old woman with albinism, mother of 4, abandoned by husband after attempted attack at home. Stalked in the fields, lives in a structurally unsafe house, struggles with food insecurity and chronic health issues. So what did Standing Voice do? Standing Voice provided emotional support and trauma counseling to the mom and the whole household. Home security upgrades, new windows, doors, locks, mobile phones were also provided so that if there is anything, any case that might happen, they can contact us easily through the helpline. Survivors receive a comprehensive package of support, which varies depending on need. Like I said earlier, the support we provide is tailor-made. So we do home visits, we do needs assessment, ongoing counseling and psychosocial support, strengthening of community-based support networks, peer-to-peer support, home security improvements and rehousing, access to food and basic supplies, referrals to essential health services. Why is access to food and basic supplies or a home visit or strengthening the house important? According to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can't deal with psychological needs when the person is lacking basic needs. Imagine telling someone that you're going to be safe. Oh, you just have to calm down, something like that. But they are constantly in fear because their house doesn't have doors, they don't have security, it doesn't have windows. So no matter how much counseling you might be giving to that person, I don't think the fear is going to go away. But if you address that concern, let's say build them a house, renovate their house, then you start managing their stress, managing their trauma, then I think that is a better approach. House we built for one of the high-profile. This is just a case of one of the direct assistants of the house we built for one of the high-profile cases in Malawi. This case was of a brother to this lady, to this young lady on the image. He was brutally murdered in 2016, and Standing Voice had to relocate the other child with albinism to a safe house, just because she was also at a bigger threat. As you can see, that was the house they were living before we constructed the safer house. So this was the first time she actually returned back home since 2016. However, Standing Voice has also been facilitating visits of the family members to the safe house so that they still build their relationship and get to socialize, get to know each other, so that it doesn't mean that just because she was at threat, then she should completely be separated from her family. Yeah, so after this house was built, we invited her for the launch, and she came, and the family was very excited to see her, and the community were very excited to see her after such a long time. And right now, that's when she can be able to go back home because she now has a safer house. Yeah, from here, my friend Chrispine can come and present on the Tanzanian data. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, my name is Chrispine, as I've been introduced my colleague Daisy. I'm just going to do the next part of our presentation. As Daisy said, we also do counseling session during our skin cancer prevention program clinics, but also we do human rights training during those clinics. These are the clinic-based education sessions that we do and can be accessed by everyone attending our clinics. This includes people with albinism, together with their guardians or members of PWA families. But also there has been this National Action Plan on Albinism. These are the things that are covered within this human rights training package, whereby we do let our clients know about the National Action Plan, which has been launched in Tanzania since last year in November. But also we do let them know how they can access their social protection schemes and also report mechanisms for abuse, gender-based violence, prevention and response, access to education. So these are the things that are covered within this package of human rights. Human rights actually training is critical to build agents, whereby we do a training albinism advocates so they know how to identify and report incidences of abuse when they occur in their locality, within their localities. As I've heard from, I don't remember who mentioned about a group about women with albinism, with those mothers of babies with albinism. We have this group of mothers. It is from Ukerewe. Ukerewe is one of the districts in the Mwanza region where we facilitated these mothers to establish this group. It is a women's albinism action group, so which is bringing together women with albinism, with mothers of babies with albinism. So they do help one another. You know, you may find a woman maybe who was given a birth to a baby with albinism, but sometimes due to a lot of challenges, as we have been mentioning since this morning, you find out that that mother may see maybe everything has changed just because she has given a birth to a baby with albinism. So now this group gives that space for the other mothers who have got, maybe who gave their first baby with albinism in 1980s. So she has a lot of experience to share with new mothers of babies with albinism. So that's how important that group is, and it has been so much helpful in the community. This group, of course, they always share, they always do visits in the community. When they hear about a new baby born with albinism, they do visit that particular family and speak about albinism, the genetics around albinism condition, and to make sure that every family with a baby with albinism knows the genetics of albinism, so they can be cooperative and reduce those kind of stereotypes and the stigma for that baby who has been born in the community, in their family. So they are very well trained on how to do peer counseling, and they are just trusted members in the community. As I've said, they also do public sensitization meetings in the community, whereby every member of the community would attend and they listen to their life experiences that they have just gone through because of having the condition, or just because they had babies with the albinism condition. So they have their life experience that renders them uniquely positioned to provide peer support to mothers. And of individuals who sought counseling in 2024 in Tanzania, 76% were women and 63% were mothers. So this group actually plays a vital role in providing peer-to-peer advice and counseling at the clinics, as I have said. And I think I've already said about this. They also provide education, counseling, and improve the safety to women and children with albinism in their community. They also deliver trainings to nurses, midwives, community birth attendants, and the social welfare officers on albinism, as they also visit and meet everybody who is attending clinics in different health facilities, the pregnant mothers and everyone who attends clinics at health centers or districts or dispensaries, to make sure that they have enough time to speak to people, so they make sure that everyone in the community is aware about albinism condition. They also have their helpline. This group, the mothers group, they have their helpline, which is operated by themselves. And they have taken 1,235 calls, and 58.2% of callers to these mothers were female. Of all people receiving counseling by this group through home visits, 86% were women. In addition, 22,433 people have been reached by this group through their community outreach events. Then there is this, the Umoja Training Center. This is a community space which was built by Standing Voice Tanzanie, and it has been the reason as to why it was built was to make sure that the community knows much more about albinism condition. So it integrates actually people with albinism in the community. As we have always been saying, previously there were no enough understanding of albinism in the community. So just having this center, a lot of trainings, a lot of discussions, dialogues have been held in that particular training center. And also, just because people with albinism, they were not given priority. Parents never sent their children with albinism to school. So they lacked some of the skills, potential skills, in order to ensure that they also live a good life, just like another person in the community. So just through this center, we always do offer different skills, whereby people with albinism do attend, and they can just learn their life just using the skills. Albinism, having some of the things that they are just doing in their day-to-day life, they can now get some money, they get income to run their life. So just to summarize, there's a tailoring group at the Umoja Center. There is a tailoring group, a soap-making production group. They're also there. Batik cloth production, radio production. We have a group of youngsters with albinism and those without albinism that are making just one group. And they do different radio sessions whereby they also do awareness-raising programs through community radios that we have on the island and outside Ukerewe district. And through those radio programs, they have reached out so many people, whereby awareness-raising has been a key issue, discussing much about people with albinism and how everyone in the community can be supportive. But also there is a photograph group, there is a drama and advocates. They use songs, they compose songs, and they can do all those kind of things to make sure that they contribute something in the community, and they can so we can have a community which is full aware of issues around albinism. There is that music group, it is called Tanzania Albinism Collective. For those who can just go into YouTube and you just write Tanzania Albinism Collective, you can just meet their account, it is there. There is art and woodcut printing, support groups, community library. There is also a community library whereby we also thought that it was very important to add as many things as we could, so to ensure the community has reasons to be visiting the center and maximize the interaction with people with albinism. So nowadays, when you come to the island on Ukerewe, there is less stigma you can find, just because they have built a maximum collaboration because of different projects being run on the center. You can imagine, even we are harvesting rainwater, as you can see from one of the photos there. The community is allowed to just come and use whatever we have at the center. And just because of its importance, everyone feels like they're just part of the project, which is key to make sure that people with albinism also live a happy life and they don't feel like they're discriminated or whatever in the community. So all these projects, they have been so important to ensure that we have a community which is not discriminative. There is that language classes that we used to do. There's community garden, whereby people in the community can access some of the medicinal plants which are there to that center. So whatever maybe someone wants to come, there is maybe a certain a plant which is a medicinal plant, and it cannot be seen anywhere. We just got a few seedlings and get them planted in our community garden, so it can always be accessible by whoever wants to access it on the island, and make sure that the interaction of the community and people with albinism is maximum. There is also the group of people, women with albinism, and mothers of babies with albinism, who are also doing hats. They are the ones who do tailor all of the hats that Standing Voice do distribute within our clinics in Tanzania and Malawi. So initially, just before they were trained to do it, we used to buy the hats on the market. So we used to use a lot of money, but now just because they know how to do hats, we always press your order to them, and through that, of course, they are also earning money. They are there working from Monday to Friday every day, and sometimes it reaches a point whereby they cannot deliver our orders as we want. So they've also been a source of income to other members in the community, other tailors who hasn't got albinism condition. So they do hire them, come and camp on their, they have a workshop. This is a workshop. It is a big workshop. It is there. So they go just hire some of the tailors from the Nancio town who could come and camp and do the hats as we need. So this has helped them. Some of them have already built their houses, and some of them also are able to send their children to school, something which initially was not possible to find a person with albinism doing. So the community knew that maybe when you are born with albinism condition, there is nothing you can do. So we just want to convey a message in the community that albinism is just a condition, just like another condition, but you can still do anything that you can to do in life. There are a few examples here of therapy and healing through art, music, and building community, as I've previously mentioned. Building safe community spaces to improve mental health and address trauma. Mechanisms beyond direct counseling can be used to build resilience, promote inclusion, and address the root cause of trauma. And that's what the Tanzania Albinism Collective does. They're just doing music, and they have reached out many people on the island and online, just because they do post their songs and whatever businesses they are doing as a group of people with albinism who have got a music band. So just through their songs, they do convey that message that is intended actually to ensure the community is equipped with the right understanding on albinism. They doesn't only do the awareness raising songs, but also they do other they send other messages in the community, the love and everything. So initially it was not easier. It wasn't possible to find a person with albinism who could stand up in front of people singing, or in the church. There were also there were no that space. Just because you had albinism condition, it was hard actually to have an audience which could be there and listen from you. The community thought there's nothing new they can get from a person with albinism. So through this music band, they have the table has turned up, and they can do all those things I've mentioned. And here you can see some of the pictures. In 2017, they visited the UK. There is this, the WOMAD, and I think you know them, WOMAD sessions. Of course, they were being held in London, and so they got that opportunity to go and deliver their, they did some performances, music performance. during the WOMAD 2017. This was their first trip outside Africa, and they were super excited. And just through this trip, when they got back on the island and continued doing their music, it's where the community started to realize that, oh, we thought maybe that people with albinism, maybe it is a curse or whatever, but they can still do more. They can even visit other people outside the continent of Africa, and there are people out there who are ready to listen to them. So it was very, very good experience for them. And I think you can see some of the photos that were taken during the event. They have never forgotten about that experience. Whenever I meet them, you want to get their feedback, what they felt like attending that. It was super, and they are always ready to share about that experience during their trip. Yeah.
Okay. So my friend has mentioned about how music and therapy are part of counseling and can also help to heal different cases of trauma and discrimination and abuse. But I just wanted also to go back and talk about the principles of the one-to-one psychosocial counseling sessions. How does it work? This is a supportive listening-centered approach which focuses on therapeutic listening rather than problem solving. It emphasizes a safe and judgmental space where individuals can express themselves freely and begin to process their experiences. What are the core principles? What do they include? They include active listening as the foundation. As counselors, we are trained to deeply listen, not just hear. We use our body language, our tone, and silence to show presence and empathy. Imagine you're in a very traumatic situation and you're talking to someone who is like not concentrating, not making eye contact, leaning back. You would be more depressed because you feel like you're not being heard. So it's very important to use the right body language when you are conducting psychosocial counseling sessions. Counselors do not offer advice. We actually focus on empowering the individual or the group to uncover their own insights. So this type of therapy does not offer any type of advice. We talk to the client, and through the conversations, they can be able to find their own solutions. Counselors are advised not to fix the problem, because that might cause vicarious trauma unto them. If they're always trying to fix, and maybe the client is not doing what you were thinking of, you get frustrated as a counselor. So it's not advisable to try to fix, but allow the individual to unburden their own emotional weight through being heard. As a psychosocial counselor, your main priority is to listen actively and not offer any type of advice. It is also important to welcome silence in a psychosocial counseling session. You know, in my country, especially when you're having a conversation with someone and there is like total silence, you feel like it's an awkward moment. You want to break the silence. You have this urge to break the silence because you feel, oh, what can I do? He needs to speak, she needs to speak. But in counseling, silence is actually a language which promotes healing, helps the person going through a traumatic experience to be able to express their feelings, have time to reflect on their feelings. And as a counselor, you are advised to let the silence be and let them speak when they are ready. It is also important to empower groups, like my friend Doreen here said. She said it's important to, if you see that healing for the person to fully heal, you need to extend the counseling sessions to the rest of the family members. It is very advisable, especially if the members of the family are also persons with albinism. For instance, if you have a case where one of the family members was attacked or was murdered, and there is also another family member with albinism, they're living in constant fear because they feel like, oh my God, I'm next. So it's also important to include them in the counseling sessions so that they can heal together as a family. It's also important to, depending on the context, to recognize when referrals are needed. It's important to always start with humility and say, you know, I don't know the answer, but maybe I can help you explore other options, and then refer your client to other therapists which can help them. When it comes to delivering sensitive news, it is important to be honest and compassionate when communicating. It's very important to be clear and direct, especially when discussing serious health concerns like surgery or cancer diagnosis. As Standing Voice, we always ensure that we involve the most trusted health facility where the person goes to often, use their native language if necessary, find a trusted translator so that they can be able to process the information. It's also important to involve a trusted person, for example, the most trusted family member to accompany them when we're delivering such news for emotional support and for clarity. We also use multiple formats to communicate, like provide written information to help the person absorb and review the details afterward. And we also have follow-up conversations to confirm that the client has really understood what is going on in their lives, and if they have any questions, then we're ready to answer and clarify whatever they have. End-of-life discussions. We communicate gently but clearly when there is no cure. We actually also involve palliative nurses to deliver such news, and also involve trusted persons like I mentioned earlier. And they also must understand the situation to make informed decisions and prepare emotionally. So what have we learned through this whole work as Standing Voice? Community context influences individual well-being. I'll keep referring to Doreen's example because society stigma, family conflict, and dependency mindsets always impact mental health. So highlighting the need to engage both the individual and their broader environment in counseling efforts is very essential to ensure that our clients heal fully. Building support networks. We set out to build trusted community-based support networks around survivors. Survivors must lead this decision-making. We don't make this decision for them. It's important, like I said, in psychosocial counseling, we don't advise. They have to make decisions for themselves, and then you can just guide them on how to do them best. Supervision and professional guidance. Like I mentioned earlier, we have regular supervision sessions by an experienced counselor. So these are essential to those working with trauma survivors to avoid vicarious trauma. Supervision helps to maintain ethical standards, emotional resilience, and effective practice. Sometimes, depending on the context, we also have team-based counseling approach where we have to counsel individuals in a group or as a group. Yeah. This, it supports and enhances effectiveness and prevents any burnout that might arise with a lot of work. Establish clear boundaries between counseling and material support. We've mentioned that as Standing Voice, when there is a need, we do deliver material support to our clients, but it is very important to separate material assistance from counseling to avoid dependency and unrealistic expectations. Remember, as an organization, we are delivering our services in a human rights-based approach, so we don't want our clients to feel like we're delivering materials all the time. Our main concern, our number one priority, is for them to have mental healing first. Counseling should empower individuals to find their own solutions. I already mentioned about this. And linking aid to therapy creates tensions within the community. As counselors, if you're always going to bring something to the survivors, and then one day you go there without any aid, do you think they are going to be receptive? No, obviously, because you've made them to get used to the materials instead of the mental health support that you're bringing. Relationship building and support planning. It is important to always establish a trust-based relationship before implementing any support plans. We actually schedule initial visits. I remember there was a question where they said, do you actually go visit the clients to deliver these mental health services? As Standing Voice, I'm happy to say, or proud to say, that we actually go visit these mental health, like counseling sessions, to the clients in their homes, at schools, or wherever they might be. If a case arises, we will be there, we will visit, no matter how far it might be. We will always go to their houses to deliver this support as regular as possible.